Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Summer 26, a global soccer showdown with myself, Gary Stryker, and as always, the Qooligan to cover in the preamble.
Flaming Pinto, baby! We're talking FIFA. We're talking World Cup.
Talking FIFA World Cup as we get into it. We are now, I believe it's 8 days away until the kickoff. So very, very exciting. So we are breaking down a number of the bigger teams as well. We obviously recently just dropped on the 3 host nations. And today we are going to be covering a northern part of Europe in the form of Germany, the Netherlands / Holland, and Belgium. So essentially just touching on Group E, F, and G, and looking at these 3 countries and looking at their chances, pathways, and obviously some of their teams and any other side quests that develop through the conversation. As always,
let's just go with the Netherlands. We'll leave the whole Holland controversy out of it. Is anybody who listens who knows anything about that part of the world? Holland is a province inside the Netherlands. All right, let's be clear. It is not the name of the country.
It's the Flanders region. Is that correct? Am I understanding? Is that right?
My God,
I've got it wrong. Or there's the French and the Dutch side of it. So go and break it down for me.
No,
break it down for anyone as well. Belgium. There we go. Yes,
Belgium. That's not the Netherlands.
Right.
There is no French-speaking part of the Netherlands other than the people in the Netherlands who speak French, of which there's probably quite a few.
There is quite a few. Yes,
but the Dutch are a fantastically multilingual people. They all speak multiple languages, but no, that's
so just to clarify, because I know you are obviously you've spent time in the Netherlands, right? So the Netherlands is the country, but then Holland is a region of the Netherlands, and which parts of it is it? Just out of curiosity.
There's the Netherlands, which is a country. Then there is a larger political entity known as the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which contains all of its overseas territories, including Curacao, which is also an independent sovereign nation, but they are a part of that, as well as Sint Eustatius and Bonaire and Aruba and other and Sint Maarten.
Suriname.
As well.
And Suriname.
No, Suriname is
they got independence.
Independent. No, Suriname is completely independent. There is a Commonwealth type relationship between the Netherlands and Suriname, owing to the colonial history between them, but that's it. But that's all. And then, of course, within the Netherlands, there are 2 provinces called Holland. There's North Holland and South Holland. And so that's what, you listen, you call it Holland, the Dutch are not going to get offended. All right. I mean, it's not like it's not as bad as calling somebody from Milan, a Sicilian. That will offend them. But if you say to somebody, "Oh, you're from Holland," they'll probably inside wince a tiny bit, but they get it. It's like most people aren't gonna understand. I do expect all of our listeners here to have encyclopedic knowledge of the political breakdowns of the Netherlands, Kingdom of the Netherlands versus Holland, and everything else. Now, Belgium's a whole different beast. That's a whole different nightmare.
And then Germany and Deutschland as well. That's just an internal naming convention, right? They call themselves Deutschland, and the outside in English it's German. Is that correct?
Well, yes, but that has something to do with linguistic history, which
it's a linguistic,
really my strong suit. But no, Germany is still Germany. It's contiguous. Ever since Bismarck came around and unified the place, it's all been kind of doing its thing. The borders have shifted quite a bit, but I mean, even within Germany, there's divisions, right?
Wow. Well,
your Bavarians versus your Northern Germans and versus the people who live in the Ruhr Valley. I mean, they're all very, very different from one another. So
they certainly are. Wow. Well, Qooligan, I when I'm not doing soccer, football related stuff, I'm deep into this podcast series. The rest is history, but I think you could definitely launch your own. The rest is geography, because you're clued in and dialed in. Anyway, let's not morph that into one of those shows.
When it comes to the actual soccer / football, right? You're talking about 3 nations who are really groups E, F, and G, and they're the dominant nations. I mean, and I say dominant in the sense that they're the highest ranked nations in the FIFA coefficient who qualified, who are going to be leading those particular groups. And so, we can start off with E, with Germany, because they're the first one alphabetically, at least in terms of group name. So
let's get into it.
What could you say about the Germans? They've won it 4 times, right?
They have.
I mean,
last time was in 20.
They're 4-time winners. 3 times as West Germany, 1 time as Germany, unified Germany. Mm-hmm. But traditionally one of the favorites, always a favorite going into the World Cup. No matter how poorly they always although they have had some history of terrible underperformances.
Well, 2018, the tournament after they won it, they didn't make it out of the group phase, and there was a bit of a trend that happened and then Spain, who won it in 2018? It was Russia. Yeah, was it Spain who won it in 2018? My God, Craig, oh my God, who the hell won it in 2018?
I don't know. You're going to have to go back in. I know the Dutch didn't make it in 2018, so it wasn't them. They weren't in the final.
No, that was it. Sorry, here we go. Spain won it in 2010, and then in 2014 did not make it out of the groups as the holders did not make it out of the groups. And then the Germans won it in 2014, did not make it out of the groups in 2018. And I was anticipating the same thing would happen to France in the last World Cup, but that was not the case. They went through to the final and had greatest final of all time. But anyway,
there you go.
We digress.
Right.
Okay.
No, it's good. That's deep cut though. I like it.
Germany, Group E, who are sitting in the same group with the Curacao,
yep.
Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast of West Africa, and then Ecuador. Looking at this, you've got to think Germany are the strongest team by a very. Ecuador probably come close to them and sort of the closest team to them, but I still think there's quite a gap between the Germans and the Ecuadorians, and then Curacao and Cote d'Ivoire. We'll see what happens.
I would disagree with your disdain for Cote d'Ivoire. I think they're a much stronger team, and I think they're going to be a much more challenging team than most people anticipate. Historically, Ivory Coast has performed well. Cameroon is obviously the one that has really surprised everybody. Cameroon didn't qualify this year. Cote d'Ivoire sort of trying to inherit that mantle, that West African strong mantle. So Senegal would argue with you that they're the stronger team, blah, blah, whatever.
And Ghana, yeah.
Black Stars generally do good. I don't think Ghana is quite as strong as Cote d'Ivoire is this year. That's my opinion. But and here's the thing with Germany that is always, based on that 2018 debacle and on the fact that as a national team, they haven't been particularly strong since that World Cup victory. For the last 12 years, they've been good, but they haven't been German, if you know what I mean. They haven't been that ruthless Mannschaft, machine-like, just get
Mercedes
up by a goal and then just keep on pounding in more goals, right? Along with the really gritty and resilient backline. That's not been them. That's not been the case. And part of that had to do, I think, the fact they clung to Jogi Löw, their old head coach, for far too long.
They did.
He was a bit too stuck in his ways. Now you've got this new guy, Nagelsmann, right? Julian Nagelsmann. And so, big in demand, by the way. Strongly anticipate if Germany does, well, there's a lot of variables, but I could see him going to a Premier League club. As a manager.
Well, it depends if they win at his stock. Does he stick around or not, right?
Sure. But I mean, there comes a point where, how much value is it? He's young, right? He's in his late 30s, early 40s. Does he really want to be coaching a national team all this time?
Well, if he can,
after the World Cup, what do? You don't do anything. There's nothing left for you to do.
Well, you prepare for the Euros, right? That's the next challenge in 2 years' time. But it's certainly a longer time horizon. Yeah, if
I'm a coach, I want to be coaching. I don't want to be sitting around watching tape and flying around, going and seeing people play.
It's a part-time gig, that's for sure. Definitely a part-time gig.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, regardless of that, what happens with Germany in this particular World Cup? I think they definitely make it out of the group. I'm not going to be so bold as to say that's not going to happen. But I don't think that's going to be quite as straightforward as folks think. I think there are going to be challenges along the way, but they should make it out.
Comfortably.
Who else will make it out? Flip a coin. It's probably Ecuador.
Yeah.
But I could also see Cote d'Ivoire doing it too.
Yep.
The real thing that plays in is how do each of the three nations handle Curacao? That, I think, is one of the more interesting subtexts of this group. It's not about how each of them sort of play each other, but Curacao could end up being the kingmakers by default, simply by how many goals do they let in? Or do they pull an upset and get a draw? They have the keys to this group in many, many ways. So let's go Curacao, right? Smallest nation to ever qualify. Right?
I think you touch on a really interesting point as well, because the group phases, because if you're a country like Germany who do have aspirations and eyes and realistic expectations that you could go all the way and go and win this, right? So with tournament football, tournament soccer, you need to pace yourself and manage your squad for injuries, suspensions, because as we know, the games start coming thick and fast and they get harder and harder and harder. So it's kind of a lot of these group phases for these kind of teams, for Germany in this instance, it feels like, do you know how sort of like when a sort of like a 400-meter runner, for example, is like in the heats preparing, like, you know, they get way ahead and then the last 50 meters or so, they just basically canter and they just breeze it home as well because they don't need to push and do anything. So the sequencing of who and when they play Curacao will be a big determining factor. And what is interesting is Germany's first game is against Curacao.
Yeah.
So part of it, if you're Nagelsmann, is like, all right, lads, let's get at it. Let's just go and bang 5 or 6 in there, and then we're good. You've got 3 points.
They need to beat them down. They really do.
You go and put 5 or 6 in against them. You've got the goal difference. You've got the 3 points locked in, and then really you can probably qualify and then go against Cote d'Ivoire. You could probably even beat them. You get 6 points guaranteed to go through. And then against Ecuador, you can just field the kids and just give everyone a bit of a break as well.
Right.
So that is definitely one way they can do it. What is interesting is I was looking at Germany's, if you look at sort of their track record of obviously sort of previous games that they've had, they have been scoring a lot of goals for fun. A lot of goals. Now, admittedly, not against the strongest opposition. They won 4-0 against Finland. They played against Ghana. They 2-1. They played against arch close, I wouldn't say enemies, but neighbors, Switzerland. They did win that one 4-3, hey, which is was actually does question sort of the defensive abilities. But then in terms of qualifying against Slovakia, 6-0, Luxembourg 2-0, Northern Ireland, they beat them as well. So they do have the ability.
Yeah,
to
the
score
Slovakia game was quite an anomaly. I mean, if that Germany shows up, good luck.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be able to beat that Germany.
Yeah.
But then again, it's the same team that that also lost to Northern Ireland. Right? So
in the qualifiers,
they are mercurial. They are not, as we said before, they're not consistent necessarily. So, we'll have to wait and see what they do. I am excited to watch them. And also, remember, we get a little sneak peek because they're playing the United States on Saturday.
That is exciting. That will be really good to both see where both the US are. And also, here's the other question that I have over Germany is I don't feel comfortable naming their starting 11. And that's not because they have got such an abundance of riches in the attacking and the midfielding departments. I mean, also, I'm unclear. I can't recall this. Did Manuel Neuer get called up to the squad? Did the goalkeeper? Did he get called up?
Which is an absolute effing travesty, in my opinion. Like the biggest mistake they made.
Why is that?
It's a disaster. The man's a walking disaster of the World Cup.
Well, in the World Cup, sure.
And in other places too. Listen, he's 40 years old. Again, this is, we talk about this creaking agedness that's in those World Cup and he's a classic example of that. There were far more exciting younger goalkeepers that deserved that chance. Not him. Is he there? Sure. Is he going to start? Maybe. I don't know. I think they're going to end up. I think they're probably going to end up going with Baumann.
Okay. But you think he starts?
Who knows? They could start. They could start with Neuer. Maybe Nagelsmann knows more than. I mean, shit. Neuer's older than the coach.
It's true, isn't it?
He's 2 years older than the coach.
Yeah. In defense, they've got a lot of experience, that is for sure. You cannot deny the number of sort of experienced and high-level defenders that they have. Whether you're Rudiger, who's 33. Yeah.
It's a great word to use. They're very experienced.
Yeah. Well, it's a euphemistic way of saying there is a bit of age in there. But if you do just go and look at that squad that they've got in there, I mean, in terms of that, Kimmich, also, he's quite experienced as well. I'm just looking at the Pavlovic, the Bayern as well, defender, Rudiger as well, we just mentioned. Just looking through Jonathan Tah. They have quite a good defense, but I will say it's not as impressive as it is their midfield or their attacking forwards.
No, they're going to be relying on their offense. They're going to be relying on their offense quite a bit. And so, we'll have to, and in fact, their youngest players are really in their offensive line. They're talking about Leonard Carl.
Fantastic player, by the way. He is excellent.
Musiala.
Yeah.
And it's funny. You forget that Nick Woltemade is only 24 years old because he's just so damn big.
Yeah.
Right? And he's had that mustache since he was 4. And you just, it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 6 feet tall at 6 years old, and so you just you forget that he's still relatively young. But yeah, I think you've got,
it gives you options.
I think you've got a fairly well-rounded squad here that again, cohesion, right? How will they all work together? How will they all, go about their business? Their back line consists of 2 players from Dortmund, right? 1 player from Bayern Munich, and then you got a Leipzig guy in there, but they're all mostly domestic based. So they should all understand what they need to do. And I think, certainly Nagelsmann is going to be like, right, here's how you handle all this stuff.
Yeah.
So
What's interesting is also just
like I said, they'll get out of the group.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And then it just depends. What is interesting is if you do look at that sort of, as you say, that front 3 that they have, they kind of, because they're traditionally sort of, I'm just looking at their last game against Finland, right? They played a 4-2-3-1. So obviously 4 defenders across the back, Kimmich, Jar, Schlotterbeck, and then Brown. Pavlovic as well, who's fantastic. I really like as a defensive anchor. And then also, is it in Mecha? Is that how you say it? But the point I want to make here is across that front 3 before the strikers, you've got Florian Wirtz, Jamal Musiala, and Leonard Karl, right? And that didn't even take into account that they've got Leroy Sané sitting on the bench. They've got Goretzka, who's also absolutely fantastic as well. And then they've also got Kai Havertz as well, who scored another goal in the Champions League final as well. So they have a lot of options. And then Woltemart, who, again, I wasn't particularly impressed by Woltemart in his last season at Newcastle, I have to say, but he does give you an alternative option. If things you get desperate and you need to throw some long balls into the box, he can be useful in terms of.
No, he's your classic traditional 9.
Yeah,
kind of just stands there, give me the ball, hold it up.
Yeah. It's kind
dish
of like
it out or hammer it home. Yeah.
Who's the Dutch guy? What's his name? Wout Weghorst, right? He's similar to Weghorst in a way, right?
Yeah. I'm not listen, we're going to get into Weghorst in a second, but
yeah.
Talk about like calling people up for no reason. I'm sorry. Yikes.
So, okay. So that covers Germany as we've been rambling on.
That's a great transition. Let's just move right on and start dissing the Dutch because it's why not?
Qooligan, you're picking up what I'm putting down. There we go. Wonderful.
There you go.
Okay, so let's move across to Group F now to the Netherlands.
F.
So we expect Germany to go through. Netherlands, this is not an easy group. No,
it's a group of death. No, we called this early on when I saw the bracket draw, right? And the balls. I said, geez, this is not pretty. There are 2 exceptionally hard groups, maybe 3. This one's one of them. When you got the Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia. Oh my Lord. Now, you could sit there and look at those 4 and go, poor Tunisia. Sure, right? I don't think Tunisia was going to have an easy time getting out of any group. I don't think Tunisia has snowball's chance in the Tunisian desert to get out of this group, right? I mean, I'm sorry. They've got good players. They're a resilient team. They kind of eased their way into qualification pretty good. But let's be blunt. Tunisia, no. Again, Tunisia plays the role that Curacao plays in the other group. It's all about how the other teams play them, right? If Tunisia is porous and concedes goals and you put a couple up against them, that's going to give you a good spot. Also, who do you play? Who's playing? When do you play Tunisia? Where is that game if you're the other 3, where is that game? And how do you strategize that, right? I believe
playing last. Tunisia is the last game for the Netherlands.
Right. Which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Because if they come into that game
needing to win it could be an upset there,
it could be pressure. And the Dutch don't always like the pressure. But if they come in with 6 points, no problem, right?
Yeah.
No, the Dutch open against Japan, which is fine. I mean, it's
I have Japan. I picked Japan on that one, actually. I think Japan are a real
They're good.
dangerous.
They're very good.
Japan are very good. Yeah.
There is only one problem with Japan. 3 of their main stars are out injured and are not playing.
Cruel.
Big problem for them.
I won't put you on the spot and have you name them, but okay, we'll leave it there.
Well, Mitoma is one of them, right? Kaoru Mitoma.
Okay.
Is one of them. And then there is, let's see. And then, Hidemasa Morita, right, from Sporting. And so he's out too. That really sucks, right? And then, and also Minamono, Minamino. Takumi
The
Minamino.
Bryson, the Liverpool
Yeah.
and Bryson, former Liverpool and Bryson guy. Okay, well that's unfortunate. He'll be missed.
That's three players that are very much a part of the Japanese core group. Now, the good news is that Japan has depth and they're able to slot them in, and that's fine. So for example, Takafusa Kubo from Sociedad, right? The recent winners of Copa Real. Great little sparky player. He'll come in and slot. But still, that's a bit of an emotional blow to Japan, but they'll recover out of that. Just and slot right in. I don't think it'll be that bad.
Interchangeable parts in the squad.
Very much so. Very much so. And that's very. And of course, when you talk about mentality warriors, right, in World Cups, the Japanese are the kings of mentality warriorship, right? They just. Everything that they do from their warm-ups, I've watched them play and watched them warm up and do trainings, and just everything is done with rigor, but also with casualness and humor, right? When they are doing their warm-ups, you think they're laughing it up, they're having fun, they're relaxed. I'd see them I do think they're one of the teams that gets through. I think Japan is, if you're going to look at any one of the four, I think Japan is the one with the highest odds, in my opinion, to guarantee going through.
I agree. I think you'd expect Holland and Japan to go through, but let's dig in on Holland.
That.
Yeah, let's dig in on Holland a bit more then. So just looking at their squad, interestingly, first of all, Holland manager Ronald Koeman, okay, famous Ajax player, Barcelona legend.
Excuse me? No, Feyenoord player.
Feyenoord. Oh, forgive me. You're correct. Yes, you are correct. But then he did go to Barca. This is my interpretation, or my sort of understanding. I've always admired the Dutch with the way they play because they've produced some incredible players throughout these sort of generations and years that I grew up with watching as well. But for me, there have only ever seemed to have been three ever Dutch managers. And that's either Ronald Koeman, Louis van Gaal, or Gus Hiddink. Can you name any other Dutch managers?
Yeah. The current manager of Curaçao is a man named Dick Advocaat.
Dick Advocaat, right?
Yes. He's 78 years old. He's in his 45th year of managing, and he's managed three different World Cup teams, 2 World Cups.
Interesting.
So he's a very experienced manager, and of course, Ruud Gullit was also the manager of the Netherlands for a brief period of time.
Ruud Gullit managed them, did they? Okay,
I believe he did. Yeah.
Okay,
I believe he did.
Okay. All right. Let's look at the Dutch.
But if you look at this squad, okay, you've got the Dutch experienced a couple of injury related things too. They lost Xavi Simons, right, from Tottenham. He took his ACL out. I actually and Koeman had to call a special camp and bring in a handful of players for a few days before he finally announced the final roster. It was not easy for him, and there were a lot of big names that were left off. I mean, the biggest names not on the Dutch team: Steven Bergwijn, Jeremy Frimpong, Steven de Vrij. Those are 3 gigantic names that you would have expected to be there, not there. And so what does that leave you with? I think their goalkeeping squad is tip-top. It's Bart Verbruggen, Robin Roofs from Sunderland, who's had a great season. That guy's fantastic. And then, of course, Mark Flecken from Bayer Leverkusen. So you put any one of those guys in, it's fine. You got no problem, right? They're all tip-top. They're going to be great. You've got Virgil van Dijk, captain on the defensive line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's old. He's 34, but he's still got it. He could still do it. He's
still got it. Absolutely.
And then and then everybody else around him, with the exception of Nathan Ake, is all fairly young.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? I mean, Ake's 31, but then you've got Joral Hato, Jean-Paul Ponhecke, Jurrien Timber. These are all guys in their mid-20s who are going to be able to provide that nice pace.
Timbers had a fantastic season with Arsenal, and I didn't realize that he has a brother who's also in the team as well. Plays for Marseille, plays for the Dutch for the Dock Rats, as we've affectionately known them as well, right?
That is correct. In fact, I don't think that's just his brother. It's his twin brother. They're twins. Yeah. So, and he also beat the squad, so that's good.
He's in the but he's a midfield. He's a midfielder as opposed to a midfielder.
Defender. That's correct. He's a defensive midfielder, but he can. He basically is a box to box guy.
Yeah.
And so. But then, I mean, listen, I didn't like the fact that they called up Wout Weghorst. I really don't think he's all that and a packet of fruit, if you ask me. But, fine. Listen, there is no denying that he does have an uncanny ability to go in at late minutes and get bangers,
He
and that
does.
might be
That's why.
what he's thinking of, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you need to have the guy. You need to have, that pocket player. What was it? Olivier Giroud for France. He was their guy.
Yeah.
When they were down up against it, you put Giroud in, and he made shit happen. Okay, so maybe Wout can do that. Good for him. I do think it was great to see Guus Til from PSV get a call up. He, this is only going to be his 7th cap if he starts, but he had a great season with PSV, and so that's good. And then Crescencio Somerville from West Ham, he got a nod. He's never actually gotten a cap before, and he made the side. So they're recognizing that he had an impact, even if West Ham went down. It wasn't because of his effort, right? He gave them everything. So, and then you've got your typical, like Memphis Depay, right? He's back again. He's got over 100 caps. Cody Gakpo is there.
Gravenberch as well.
And Donnell Mullen, who admittedly, when he was with Aston Villa, never really made waves, but then they put him over to Roma, and it was like, holy crap. It was like dropping a meteor in water. I mean, you got steam and shockwaves all at the same time. It was incredible. So, they're a solid unit. The Dutch are always solid. They know how to play. They have a consistency. They have a style. The only problem is that when they go down, they get in their own heads, and they can be beaten. They are a beatable team. When they play well, they're unstoppable. But the question is, are they going to be that team? You never know which Netherlands is going to show up.
Yeah, they're always competitive, but it doesn't feel like they've got the ability to go. I think quarterfinals would be a good World Cup for them.
That'd be a good finish for them.
Yeah, that would be a good finish for them. They've got a solid team, but there is still the outside possibility that they trip up somewhere along the lines against Japan and Sweden, and all of a sudden they're desperately trying to get points.
I think Sweden's a bigger problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they can play against Japan. Sweden's a bigger problem because Sweden as a team plays a much more physical, direct style, and they sometimes struggle against that. When you give the Dutch the ability to move the ball around, they're great. Sweden's never going to give them that opportunity. They know better. They know better than to give them that chance.
Yeah.
So.
Graham Potter against Ronald Koeman, who, Graham Potter's possible.
No, I mean, I think that's the thing with Sweden, right? I mean, they're coming into this tournament really having to have clawed their way in, and it's good for them. I don't see, the last few times that I have watched Sweden play, I have not been impressed. Genuinely, legitimately not impressed. They figure it out, they get there, but they're also, and maybe this is just me being a cynic, they're terribly boring to watch. They're really just not fun. And I would rather watch, at least Japan tries, the Dutch try. There should be fun. There should be some fun soccer there. When Sweden gets on the pitch,
snooze.
I'm sorry. I'm like, dude.
The good thing for Sweden though is Alexander Isak is back in sort of form, and he scored an absolutely fantastic goal the other day. So that could be. Okay, let's move on to Group G and touch on Belgium. Now, Belgium, who had
Belgium.
The golden generation, this is sort of the last throw of the golden generation.
They say gold doesn't tarnish, but I hold up a picture of Belgium's team and I go,
sinks. It certainly sinks.
Yeah, it does sink. That's for sure.
Yeah. So Belgium have actually got a friendly against Tunisia in a couple of days just to get warmed up. And then if you look at the Group G that they have, Belgium have got Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. Now, I think we can say New Zealand are just going to be an absolute whipping team. You're going to just bang in a bunch of goals against New Zealand.
If they play like they played against Haiti, they played Haiti last night and got beat 4-0. That's just not good. And I'm not saying that because Haiti isn't a good team. I think Haiti is one of the dark horse teams of this tournament in terms of because it's Haiti. They're a stateless team, right? They've nothing. They don't have a country really. None of them have been, they can't play at home. So they're just in it for the joy and for whatever. But to lose to them 4-0, I think New Zealand is screwed.
Yeah,
they're screwed.
Yeah, Iran.
They got an easy group. They got an easy group, and it ain't gonna help them.
Yeah. Iran are going to be challenging. I don't think they're going to be a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. And then
Now,
Belgium have
the
got
only
Egypt.
problem with Iran is that nobody on that team has been playing.
Yeah, they could be out of form and out of fitness.
Their entire season was literally blown up, and they have not been able to. Most of them have not played a competitive game since February, so they've just been in training camps, and that's not a bad thing. You can be match fit physically by going through training camps. The question is whether you're match fit mentally.
Yeah,
and that'll
that's
be
the concern.
so we'll have to see what all that does.
And then there's all the other noise going on around them as well, so that could be,
of course,
could be
right,
distracting.
No, that is very distracting. And they pulled in a lot of veterans for this squad, right? So they're fairly old. They're a really old unit, and that's great for your experience, but it's not necessarily great for your recovery. I mean, they only have, I think they have 1, 2, 3 players under the age of 20. No, 4 players under the age of 27. Not good. Okay. Egypt's even worse, by the way.
Yeah,
Egypt's even worse. They're even older.
If you take Mo Salah out of Egypt's squad, I'm just looking, and I don't think there's Marmoush in Italy, but yeah, Marmoush.
You got Omar Marmoush. You got Trezeguet, right, who plays for Al Ahly. He's a slippery and clever little guy. But no, after that, you're really starting to be like to dig deep.
You're stretching them. Yeah. So looking at this, just looking at Belgium then as they go into it, just in sort of the form that they've had in the run up as well. I mean, they beat Croatia yesterday. They beat Croatia 2-0, which would have been a good result for them as well. They drew against Mexico. They beat the US back in March 5-2.
I might add.
Comfortably as well. And then they've got one more warm up match against Tunisia coming up. But then Belgium, you look at their group and you think, basically, once they kick off, they play against Egypt first, will probably be their toughest competition, then Iran, and then assuming they have 4 or 6 points, they're going to field the youth team against New Zealand and just say, guys, have at it and just go and get some goals in there and take it from there. But in terms of Belgium, in terms of players and squads and the squad, I mean, they've got, as you say, the age is certainly quite striking, right? They called up Lukaku, Trossard, who's just won the Premier League, obviously, and did very well for Arsenal, is 31 years of age. You've got De Bruyne, who's sort of enjoying his life on the Amalfi Coast in Naples, but then you got Doku, Tielemans, Witzel.
And add to the age group of Axel Witzel.
Yeah, I mean, 37 years of age, right? Yeah,
got 136 caps for Belgium.
Wow, that's impressive.
I mean, think about that. So Belgium's fielding a team that have 4 players that have over 100 caps.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That by itself is rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a lot of games. Yeah, for 4 players, right? I mean, they have nearly 500 caps between 4 players. That's a ton.
Yeah.
And then, but like you said, there are some young people there too, right? They also have, at least, let me see if I'm doing my counting right, 2, 4, 6, 8 players that have less than 10. Okay. Experience, youth, maybe it works, right? Maybe that is a magic formula, right? That Rudy Garcia can sort of go, right, I can work with this and make it happen. Why not? I think Belgium just has the luxury of really having one of the easiest groups in the World Cup. So their advancement is, in my opinion, all but certain. Of course, that could be the pothole in which they sink. That could be the gopher hole in which they sink up to their ankle in, right? But they should, by all stretches of the imagination, have a fairly comfortable way to work with it. Again, that first game against Egypt is the telling one.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll see how they come out of the traps.
Yeah. Whoever wins that game probably wins the group.
Yeah. That's fair.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But a loss or a draw does not equal disaster. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Indeed. Wonderful. Well, Qooligan, that's covered obviously three northern parts of Northern European as well. As we continue with the build up as well, we will be back later on this week as well with another section and some special guests. So Qooligan, as always, until next time, getting excited. Thank you.
Peace.